Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM React episode number 418, and today we're reacting to Purple Roads episode 11. So we're gonna react to this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow.
Welcome to Purple Roads, and you'll understand what that means in just a second. I am so glad you're here. Thank you so much for coming back. So excited about our guest today. We're going to have so much fun. I want to give some love to our sponsor, Infusion HF70 Plus. Thank you so much for sponsoring this show. We're a huge fan. So today we've got someone that I had the honor to work with, a show that I loved so much, and I am so excited to have Noel MacNeal here with me today, who was Bear in the Big Blue House, among so many other things which we will get in today. Noel, how are you?
I am good. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us, to hear us babble on about being a dinosaur and a bear once upon a time.
Yes. So we worked together, and goodness gracious, I can't remember the exact year, but we did.
It was definitely after 2001, so I would say probably maybe 2002-ish, or maybe early 2003.
Yeah, I think that's when I was working on Barney and Friends, and we came to New York to meet you. We were doing We Are Family, which was a Nile Rodgers event where they brought a ton of characters together.
Wow.
And we did a promo video, which I just found out you actually wrote that.
It was after.
Wow, I did not know you guys were in this. Continue on.
9/11, Nile Rodgers did this because he wrote "We Are Family," a classic song, and he got all these celebrities together and did it right after, just to show we're all united. And then for the 6-month anniversary, he wanted to do a children's version, so that's why he got all the children's celebrities. Okay. So that's why it's this. It's on YouTube, and it's this compilation video of characters like Pooh and at that time Stanley, and then all puppet characters from Sesame Street and Bear in the Big Blue House and Barney.
Yes.
And what was really cool is that we actually got to go to each other's set. So I and Barney got to go upstairs to Between the Lions and interact with them, and Big Bird was there. And then I got to go with Bear to Sesame Street.
Very cool.
And so Bear was there with Sesame Street between Big Bird and Snuffy. And you thought Bear was big until you get in between Big Bird and Snuffy, and he's like a teddy bear compared to those giants.
Yes.
And so then they wanted to just send a video of this to schools. And so there was a promo video that you and I worked on.
Yes.
And I got to write. Rick Fernandez directed it, and he asked me to write it. And so it's with Barney and Bear in a FedEx truck.
Yes.
And pulls up to the school and personally delivers the first copy to this school, and then saying that it'll be made available to schools across America to show kids the video and just help them, just reassure them in case anything happens, there are people there to take care of you, and you'll be all right, you'll be safe. So. And just had these two guys who would actually do it. So yes, that's how we actually met, worked together.
Yeah,
so,
and it was so fun for me. Dean Went was with me on that one. The voice of Barney was with me, and we were fascinated to see Bear, see that costume.
Yeah, I was fascinated to see Barney finally, because I always heard about it. And
wow.
So I kind of stuck inside. It was like, oh my god. I was like, good lord.
Right. And funny enough, we had the same reaction seeing Bear.
It's just wow. It's just the things you guys were just able to do.
Right.
and this way he just like synced it up between the action and the voice so well. It's just like it's admirable, and so seeing it like for like and just like seeing how he even was just delivered. It's just like this sort of Jurassic Park kind of crate.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Delivered it.
Yes.
It was very impressive.
Yes, he travels in a massive wardrobe.
But just shy of like when you open it, like this sort of like fog should like pour out. Taser standing by.
Right. And then he comes out and gives you a big hug.
He's like, hey.
Yes.
Just clears the smoke out. It's like, yeah. So that's how we actually met and worked together. One of those times where it would be hard to nearly impossible to have that many iconic brands like work together,
right,
for one single thing again, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't think of these characters as brands or franchises, but they are. It's part of that business of show that we are in, and so just having like the permission from like all of these different companies to have them all together in the same thing, and even then, just like making sure that so and so is not too close to this character, or this character doesn't have more lines than that character. It's like, so yeah,
right. But it felt like, I remember that so well, and I remember it felt very special. It felt like we were doing something.
Oh yeah,
very
it was
important, very special.
Totally special. Yeah, it was great. It was like I said, it'll probably never happen again.
Right.
So we were really lucky that our characters actually got to be a part of this, and it was really special. And people still remember it. Like people who were like in school remember seeing the video like at an assembly.
Right.
And it was great. And for that day, because we were shooting it with the principal, all that, and then we did like this sort of meet and greet in the auditorium with kids.
Wow.
Yes.
With Bear and Barney, and so kids actually got to meet both of them and get their pictures taken, which was really cool.
Yes, it was amazing. So you mentioned the business of show that we're in. I'm very curious. How did you get into because you've done both costume work and then also puppetry. How did you get into that?
It started when I was a kid. I always said that there were more puppet shows on when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, there was shows like Sherry Lewis, Lamb Chop, who was a female puppeteer.
Wow.
Ventriloquist. There was Paul Winchell. We did Winchell Mahoney Time.
Okay.
Wow.
Which was this like syndicated show, and he was a ventriloquist too. He had Jerry Mahoney and Knucklehead Smith, and Paul Winchell then went on to do the voice of Tigger.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
He was the original
Yes.
Winnie the Pooh character, Tigger. He was the original Tigger. I did other voices for like Hanna-Barbera and like Disney cartoons. He also invented the artificial heart.
Really?
Yes, he did.
Yes, puppetry can save lives. So yes, Paul Winchell.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, and there was like other shows. There was Captain Kangaroo. Of course, there was Mr. Rogers.
My childhood favorite. Continue on.
And when I was about 7 years old, that's when on a Sunday night, there was a half-hour show on PBS, local PBS station, and it was hosted by these two puppets about this brand new show that was coming on the next day. And these two puppets were puppets I had never seen before because, Mr. Rogers, had like this kind of puppet like that.
Right.
And Sherry Lewis had like Lamb Chopper, which was a sock and all that. But these two puppets I had never seen before because like one had a shape of, his head was like a football, and the other one's kind of like a banana. And their names were Ernie and Bert. And they're talking about this brand new show starting tomorrow morning called Sesame Street. And they showed highlights of Sesame Street.
Wow.
And I remember seeing Big Bird for the first time. And it was this puppet that could actually walk around free. It wasn't hiding behind anything. It could actually walk around. And I was like fascinated by that. So I was beyond the age of Sesame Street, but I just watched Sesame Street all the time.
And as you saw, as you mentioned earlier, Neil, well, to tell you the truth, they just came out with a primetime special on NBC. Came out in 1969 of November 8th, 2 days before that. So, say, it's a preview. So, say, for example, this went on to Sesame Street. So, Then on 2 days after that, it was the Sesame Street premiere on national educational television. So, very good on that. Continue on.
And then during high school, that's when the Muppet Show came out. And I figured, well, Jim Henson and these people, they're making a living from doing puppetry. Maybe I could do it too. So I did all this research and finding out, like, is there like a college I could go to study to be a puppeteer? So I did research the old-fashioned way. Back then, there was no internet. So I went to what's called the library, which is great. It's like Barnes & Noble, but it's free.
Right.
And I researched, and I found actually at the time there were two schools. One is the University of Connecticut in Storrs, Connecticut, with a 4-year puppetry program. To this day, you can get your master's degree in puppetry.
Really?
Yes. And then the other one was here in New York, and it was in Brooklyn, New York, and it was at Pratt Institute, and there was a theater course at that time. And within the theater course was a puppetry course.
Wow.
And so I had these two choices. Now, my mom was a single mom. My dad walked out on us when I was 18 months old. And so she was taking care of me and her mom and uncle at that time. And so all my research is set up. And she was working 2 jobs to send me to private school for decent education because I grew up in central Harlem. So it was a choice between the high school where the kid got stabbed or the other high school where the kid got shot. So she sent me to private school downtown and worked 2 jobs to do this. So I'm going to this single mom with 2 jobs. And I said, okay, I know what I want to be. A puppeteer.
I can just imagine.
And so she said, okay, what do we have to do? And I said, okay, well, there's University of Connecticut and there's Pratt Institute. Okay, what do we have to do? Well, this is due by this time, this is due by this time. Okay, what else do we have to do? That's all she kept saying. She never belittled it, she never dismissed it. She just kept saying, what do we have to do to make this happen? Because she always said to me, you can always get a job, get a career.
Wow.
And at the end of all this, she said, and if for some reason you want to become a lumberjack tomorrow, we'll figure out how to do it.
Wow.
So it really helped having somebody off the start who actually supported it. So I actually, in case you're curious, I did end up going to Pratt Institute.
And I am curious. It's fascinating because that's why I became a purple dinosaur. My father was the same way. He was so supportive about it. When I told him what I was going to do, he didn't question it. He didn't, I was working a part-time job at a Chili's, and I got into the costume with Barney, and they were supportive the whole time. And even when I said, I think this purple dinosaur is going to take off. This was before the TV show. I'm going to quit Chili's, and he said, I don't know if that's a great idea, but you need to do what you need to do. I'm going to support you. And next thing I know, I end up at Radio City Music Hall. And after that show, my dad was there. He had taken a train down from a business meeting he had. And he said, well, you were right. And of course, it wasn't about being right. It was just that he supported me to let my dreams go where they wanted to go. And obviously, your mom did that. I think that's amazing. Because I think that's very hard for parents to trust their kid and just support them. But it's so important. How are you going to become these things if you don't have that support?
Right, exactly. You don't need somebody belittling you or dismissing it because you already have that voice inside your head doing that anyway.
Right.
So, and you'll have the outside world interfering with your dreams. So you don't need somebody at home just saying it as well. So, as a parent now myself, because I have a son who's 14 going on 42, and just that balance of support and love while still, pushing no, you could do more, you could do a little bit more than this. It's I know you. It's this. It's a challenge, but it's nothing you can't handle because you have to prepare them for leaving. That's the whole. That's what I figured out. The whole point of parenthood. It's you prepare them to leave.
Right.
And so so it's I want to be there for him the way my mom was there for me when that time comes. As is, we support him anyway. Like he wanted to learn to play piano, and so we got a cheap piano first, just to see like how long is this gonna last.
Sure.
And then after like 6 months, no, actually about 3 months, it's like okay, so we upgraded to another piano.
Right.
It was a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now he's asking for like yet another one. It's like, it's been a year. Let's let's wait a little bit longer, just to see. But he's really good. He's a vocal major at his he just started high school. He's a vocal major and he's great.
Wow.
He's really good. And we're just like supporting him. He wanted to go to a performing arts high school. It was like, okay, and helped him prepare for the audition, because you have to audition.
Sure.
For performing arts high school. Unlike the other parts of the country, here in New York City, for middle school and then for high school, you can choose a school outside your district. So for elementary school, you're within your district, but then after that, you can go anywhere you want to.
Oh, wow.
As long as they accept you. And so we did that for middle school, and then for high school too. And because he wanted to go to a performing arts one, you have to audition in order to get in, as well as have, decent grades.
Right.
And so he got in, and just was so supportive of him because of that.
That's amazing. Was he ever interested in puppetry or anything that you're doing, or did he want to kind of do his own path?
It was like for a while, like I did these, I created these original musicals for the Bronx Zoo, for their Boo at the Zoo, the Halloween celebrations, right? So for 3 years in a row, I had these shows, and for the last show, I got him involved, and he was like one of the puppeteers of the show, because I thought it'd be cool for kids in the audience to see this kid actually like performing.
Right.
And I was actually shocked how good he was.
Wow.
At lip sync. I really didn't have to give him any tips. I had this footage of him doing the rehearsal with the other puppeteers, and I was floored, like, oh my God, he actually gets this.
Wow.
It's like it's in his DNA. But now he wants to do the music thing. It's like, that's great. That's awesome. It's like,
what did he think about you being Bear? When did he understand that, and what did he think about it when he did?
When he was really little, and we would watch puppet shows. I would show him like Sesame Street old school, like the original episodes of Sesame Street, the ones I grew up with, like the first 10 years, 15 years, and then I showed him the Muppet Show, and then I showed him Bear, and for when he was young, I would say that he kind of he finally understood that about puppetry, because when he was really little, he was about 4 years old. That's when we did Between the Lions, the last 2 seasons, and it was in Jackson, Mississippi. And my wife brought him, and they visited. So he got to the set. So he could suddenly he saw how the characters he saw on TV were puppets. And I would say that Peter's helping Theo, and I'm helping Lionel. And so when we started watching shows again, like the Muppet Show, he would say, who's helping Kermit? I said, well, that was my friend Jim. And who's helping Piglet? Well, that's my friend Frank. So then finally, when he was about, almost 6, he was like 5, almost 6 years old. And he finally said to me one night, he said, Dad, who helps Bear? And I said, do you really want to know? He's like, yeah. And I said, me. And he did this look of, and I said, haven't you ever noticed how my voice and Bear's voice kind of sound the same? And he did this. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's how he finally found out.
Well, that's a perfect segue to this. So let's talk about, because I told you I was a huge fan of Bear. And I love the show. I love every aspect of it. Still, that song is it's kind of like some of the Barney songs. It's the same thing with the Bear song.
It's in you. It's like the music director was Peter Lorre, and Peter's like the the master of kids TV songs. Like he wrote the theme to the Magic School Bus, like the original theme to the Magic School Bus.
Which is so lame. Continue on.
That's him, which is one of the best themes of all time. And I first met Peter when I worked on this show back in 1989. It was called Eureka's Castle, and he was the music director for Eureka's Castle. And then he became music director for Bear. And what's nice thing about Bear is like he and the creator Mitchell Creedman brought these other people in, like Brian Woodbury, who's like gone on to do like great things, and David Charney, and it was all these songs that like just mixed styles, like Western and ballads and like vaudeville and gospel and rock and roll and rap.
Yeah.
And just even the theme of Bear was just so different. It was very jazzy.
It is, and it's addictive. It's such an awesome song. So the voice, did they have an idea? Was it to kind of use your voice? Where did Bear's voice?
I was auditioning for this one show in the morning. It was like a game show they were thinking of with this sort of alien as the host, and it was like this big creature. It was kind of like almost plant-like. Like think of Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay. And
as I'm sitting in there in this prototype, I'm thinking, why don't you just get Marty Robinson to do this? Because Marty designed and built the original Audrey, so this would be perfect for Marty. But I did it. It was like, okay. So then I went home, and then around 4 o'clock, that's when I got this call saying, Noel, could you come back? Because there's another character for another show we want you to audition for. I was like, okay. So they had to fax me. Yes, kids, fax me. Yes. Google it.
Unfortunately,
the sides and also the sketch of what the characters look like. And it was like this bear with these little critters and like the moon behind him. I was like, oh, this looks cute. And I was like in the cab and I was like looking at the sides. And then I walked in and Peter Van Roden, who was the executive at the time, he said, thanks for coming. Okay, just use your own voice. And I was like, what? It's like, but we're the Muppets. We don't do that. What? I said, no, use your own voice. And they wanted it to be different from Barney because Barney was so popular.
Sure.
And Barney had a certain cartoony voice.
Yes.
So for Bear, they wanted to try something different. And being the Muppets, how we always do funny voices, they wanted to see, could we create a character that just had a fairly normal voice of an adult?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, sure. And I kept trying to sneak in like a cartoony voice. No, keep doing your own voice. I was like, okay. So I'm inside the prototype, and it feels great just to be inside it. It's like it felt so good. Right. And then I realized, wait a minute, no, it's almost 5 o'clock. It's a Friday. This is a courtesy. They're not gonna have you do this. It's like they just want to cover the bases. So I said, screw it. I'm just gonna have fun. So I just kept running back and forth and just running around, and just when the script said he sniffs the camera, it says he sniffs the viewer.
Right.
I just jammed the nose all the way into the camera and pulled it back out again.
God help me. Continue on.
And just he's talking about water, and he has a glass of water, and I just held it right up to the camera, and angles his face right behind it, and just did stuff like that. And it's like, okay, that's it, I'm done, and I just left. And then the following Monday, just before 6 o'clock, that's when I got the call saying, no, we want you to be Bear. And I said, what? I was like, you mean all that stuff worked? What? Yeah. So so that's how I got it. So
that's how it happens.
Yeah.
Right. When you
by not caring,
just let go. Right. When you just let go, and you kind of create. If you force it, it doesn't work. Right. When you just kind of listen to yourself, it's funny how you kind of
when you overthink things and just when you overthink it and care too much.
Right. Yeah.
You just go in and I'm just gonna have fun. Either you like it or you won't, and then that's it.
Right.
Just at least I had fun doing it.
Right.
And I've had other auditions just like that where I've had fun and they've chosen somebody else.
Sure.
But hey,
Well, but that's
so,
part of the business.
oh yeah, it's so arbitrary, and
Right.
like, and telling my son, like, it'll happen to you too. There'll be a point where you're probably absolutely perfect, but for some reason they'll just choose somebody else, and it's through no fault of your own. It's like,
Right.
because that showbiz.
Well, that's exactly, and it's smart that you're teaching him that now, because that
Yeah.
can be how many times was I told no? It was a ridiculous amount. I just kept going until.
Yeah,
You know.
it's like I auditioned for something, and it was like he helped me with it actually, and I still didn't get it. And he was just like shocked. It's like, what? They give it to you? What? It was like, it happens. It's
Right.
like it's nothing I can do. It's not up to me. And then telling him about how, I think we went on YouTube, and I showed him like there's like different movies or TV shows where you see like the first auditions for these characters and see other people doing it. Oh yeah, that's right. It was for the on YouTube. There's the Office auditions, and you see the auditions
Right.
that the characters the actors did for characters, but a lot of them didn't actually audition for their character. Like John Krasinski, who we all know as Jim, he actually auditioned as Dwight.
Wow.
and
that happens a lot.
Yeah, and Jenna Elfman, who is, Pam, she actually auditioned to be another female character.
Right.
She auditioned to be Angela. And so it's just weird. And then you see other people. And then there was the actor who now, he's known for Better Call Saul. And he auditioned for Michael, the part of Michael Scott.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, it was really interesting. And then you see Steve Carell's audition for Michael Scott, and you just know from it was like one of those things. You just see it, and you just know from that audition tape that yeah, that's it, that's him. But then later on in the season, because God knows my son has been obsessed with The Office for so long that we've seen like every episode, and so there's this episode later on where Pam is interviewing for a job to be Jim, who's in Philadelphia now. And she's auditioning, interviewing for this job at this company, and she's meeting the boss. And the joke is, he says inappropriate things, he's trying to be funny, and he's not. And she says to the camera, "Oh my God, it's Michael Scott." But what was funny is, they used the actor who's known for Better Call Saul, the guy from that original audition. And so it's like he's doing his Michael Scott. So that was like the inside joke.
Right.
It's like, you finally get to do this character, which was really cool.
Man,
what was your favorite part about playing Bear?
Oh, I got to. I like the fact that Bear was an adult. He wasn't a kid. There's so many kid characters, kid shows that are kids.
Yeah,
which is fine. But Bear was like one of the first ones in a long time who was an adult, who had to take care of these other kid characters. So it kind of became this thing between my voice and then Lynn Thigpen, who was the voice of Luna. Mm-hmm. We had these very clear, distinct adult voices. So it became this thing where all the adult characters on Bear would have these distinctive sort of adult voices. But then any kid character would have a cartoony voice, which was fine. And so I like the fact that Bear was an adult. So then when he did appearances, he could actually be an adult. And so being on Hollywood Squares, he could be a little cheeky sometimes and a little snarky.
Right.
And so it was nice.
Yeah, because that's.
But the one thing whenever I did appearances, I think the best part of being Bear was I always asked if I could go to a children's hospital. And so having Bear actually go to a children's hospital and meet kids there was great because walking in whenever I could, the parents would be there, and it's not a doctor coming in, it's not a nurse, it's not someone taking the kid for a test. And seeing Bear walk in, suddenly their kid isn't a patient anymore. The kid's a kid again. And they could see the kid like laugh and smile for those just few moments. Like that was always worth it. Just to see them like light up and just really appreciate having this moment of childhood. And then there was some times where Bear couldn't go in because of any medical restrictions,
Sure.
so I would wave at the door.
Right.
But there were a couple of hospitals. There was one great one in Chicago that had like a studio, so that Bear could do. I always had a little 20-minute show. So Bear did this little 20-minute show in the studio,
Right.
so that the kids who couldn't come out of their rooms could actually watch on their TV set Bear, and like he could say hi to them. So the best part of being Bear was like visiting actually children in the real world,
Wow.
which was great. That's how I got to know Give Kids the World in Florida, because Give Kids the World is this resort for kids with extreme illnesses, and I got to go there, and it's set up so that there are kids who, if they have what's called, very often they have what's called a rush wish, where a kid is so severely sick that they have to do this wish. They have to pull it all together within like 36 hours.
Right.
And so they will have like the airfare, the car, and the hotel, and the park tickets like all set up so they can like email it, like FedEx it like the next day. And people can get on the plane and just head down. And it's in Kissimmee, Florida, and the rooms are set up so that any medical equipment that's needed can be there. And all the parks are in on any hotels, if they're full, any hotels are in on it. It's great. It was started by this one man, and they work with Make-A-Wish and other children's charities, and it's a great place. So if you ever have a chance to go and volunteer, do it. You can donate online. It's such an amazing, amazing place.
I was very fortunate to do a lot of that myself, going to hospitals, doing the visits, doing Make-A-Wish. I never did that, and that's amazing hearing that. I was not aware of that one. But
yeah, it's great. Barney would have been wonderful there, because it's like they have this little theater. So I did like a little show, but it's so big. You could also like just roam around outside.
Right.
It's awesome. It's set up kind of like it's almost set up like a little theme park.
Wow.
And with the different buildings, and they have like the ice cream parlor where you get a lot, and all the food is free for families there. Every day is like either it's somebody's birthday or it's Christmas.
right.
It's just a celebration every single day. And I told my wife, like, if we ever had lived down there, we would just volunteer there. And I told my friends who are puppeteers down there, like, just go and volunteer, just do a little show. It's awesome. It's great. In fact, the last time I was there, I was doing an appearance at Disney World, the Very Merry Christmas Parade. So I arranged so I could go to Give Kids the World. And I did my little 20-minute show. And there's this little girl who loves seeing the show, and Bear got to talk to her afterwards. And it turns out she had this wish to meet Bear.
Wow.
And that's why they were going to go that afternoon to the studios, because there was still the Bear show playing at the studios with our recorded voices and the puppeteers lip syncing to it. And so it was just by sheer coincidence that I happened to be there with the actual Bear that she got to meet.
Wow.
And so to cover Bear's bases, Bear said, the show is really, really fun, but it's really exhausting. So I might be out of breath. So I might not be able to talk to you and say hi, but I'll still be there.
Right.
Just to cover the fact that he isn't going to say anything because he's not allowed to.
Right. That's a fascinating thing, because we did so many hospital appearances and didn't usually travel with the voice. It was usually just Barney going to a hospital, and I never had kids say, "Why aren't you speaking?" I think they were so blown away by just seeing Barney and being able to get a hug and talk to him that really it wasn't needed. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like with Barney. When you see Barney, it's like, that's Barney. It's like it's like that's it. Like you said, just getting the hug and just getting to interact with him, it's huge. So kids don't care. It's just like one of those moments where you get to actually let the kid be a kid, and the parents actually seeing that. Being a parent now, I appreciate now what I did in terms of a parent, just like having their kid just be a kid again. And it was really fun. So it was nice.
Isn't it just amazing? I never realized how special it was. I mean, I knew it was special, but what I didn't realize that none of the kids were ever sad. They were so happy to see their friend Barney, and it was just these amazing experiences. And I just got blessed more than that I could ever give to them. The power those kids have and the strength is just amazing. And of course, their parents being able to be there.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just an amazing experience.
Oh yeah. And these people like remember it for forever.
Right.
I mean, I get fan email from people thanking me for Bear and like everything, and now tweets come up about thanking Bear. You're a part of my childhood. Thank you
Right.
so much. And it's like you said at the time, you really don't think how long lasting this is.
Right.
And it's like, and it's you don't really think of it as a job
No.
because it's not really a job.
No.
there,
It's not.
there are worse jobs.
Right.
But it's really something special. So that's why with Bear, I don't know if you ever did it. Well, I mean, you kind of did it with Barney because you had kids
Yes.
on the show.
Right.
But with Bear, because of this universe that you lived in, where the town of Woodland Valley was just like all animals.
Right.
So we would occasionally have kids visit the set, and it was a great way of kind of reminding us, like, oh yeah, this is why we're doing it.
Yes.
So by the fourth season, our last season, we actually set it. It was so popular at that point that we set up like twice a month.
Wow.
Like on a Wednesday morning, we would like from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, we would tape what we could,
Right.
and then at 10 o'clock we would stop, and then for half an hour, that's when we would have families come through and visit the set, and we got it down to it was almost like a Disney ride where they would like
Wow.
walk up the ramp like through the attic, and then there'd be the Otterpond. There's like Pip and Pop, and the Otterpond. There's like, and then you go into the and then the kitchen is like Trilo and Ojo, and there's Tutter and his mouse hole,
Right.
and then you come through, and then the living room, the last thing would be Bear in the swing, and you would have a picture with Bear in the swing, and then they would go out the door, and then our assistant director Dean Gordon had it set up so that it would be videotaping the entire time,
Wow.
and so people would get a copy, a video copy
Oh, that's so
of the visit to take with them. He calls it the bar mitzvah tape. So it's like, here you go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it was like a nice reminder, like, yes,
Right.
this is why we're doing it. this is what we're doing it for. The kids were great, and they just like loved it. It was like really fun. And we had celebrities. We had Kelly Ripa come by for the 100th episode with her kids,
Oh,
and that
very
was
cool.
fun. Yeah.
We did several Make-A-Wish at the studio. We'd be filming Barney and Friends.
Wow.
And I had already experienced them, but a lot of the crew had never seen that before.
Right.
And, we obviously all knew what we were doing and the importance of what we were doing for children. But to actually see a Make-A-Wish, it really, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was very
Oh, yeah.
inspiring for everyone. Because when you're filming these shows, they're long hours and there's a lot involved in doing them.
Yeah.
And it really reminds
Just
you
be cranky.
what you're doing. Yeah, I know. Well, for us, we get to play, right? When you're in a big purple costume, you're just having fun. But it really showed everyone, hey, this is what we're doing, and how important of what we're doing.
Oh yeah, it's like it was great when I did. Bear was also international, and so as you're being introduced to the Mexican market.
Yes.
So I
Wow.
went down and did appearances, and then I asked, like, could I go to a children's hospital?
Right.
And there was only like one hospital around, and it was pretty much like, as one parent said, this is like, she thanked us for coming because nobody ever thinks to come, here.
Right.
And it was like the hospital where it was pretty much like the last stop hospital.
Yeah.
Because it was like, so I did my show at the auditorium. There's like this big theater that they would have there, and they brought kids in that could come, and I did my show, and there was like this one kid in the front row, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was like half his body was paralyzed.
Wow.
And at one point, I sang the song. It's like where it's like the things about you that I like.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, like Bear knelt down in front of him and put his hand on his hand and sang right to him. And because he was paralyzed, I could see, because that was the other thing. I actually was able to see out
Yeah, if you watch this, DJ Bob, continue on.
at this point. There was like another camera in Bear's like left eye, and so I had the monitor so I could actually see their vision.
Right.
So I was like looking at him, and I could see like for half of his face, like half his, like you could see like one corner, like do that, meaning it's like he was smiling, like he was like smiling, and I could hear, I could hear the people near me who were like from Henson and all that. I could hear like this good gasping,
right,
and then inside, because you're doing this too, it's like you have to hold it together. It's like you can't break down. So I'm just like, I'm smiling till like my gums are hurting, just to like keep it together, Noel, keep it together. It's like that's it. This is a good moment, right? And just like and like ending the show, and then walking back, and just like once I get out, I go to the bathroom to change, and that's when I just broke down in the bathroom and just like cried. Because it was like such an emotional moment, but that's why we do it. It's like it's one of those. It's like we're very privileged in that what we get to do has such a positive effect on so many lives that we have no idea that how many lives we touch, because you do the show and it gets aired and you have no idea really who's watching this. So I remember hearing that Bear and Barney both had fan letters from women in prison.
Man.
Because of the fact it was like, because women in prison, they're stuck there, so this was like a connection to their kids that they weren't able to see.
Right.
So seeing these shows was still like that connection for their kids, and so they would write like fan letters like thanking them for the show. So it was like Bear and Barney's got a fan base,
Man.
Yeah, it's amazing, and
it's new blood.
I had several of those experiences myself with a child that was burned, a huge part of her body, and she just saw Barney and I love you, and just didn't even realize what had happened to her, and I've seen a child that hadn't said a word in 2 years and saw Barney and says Barney, and I've seen those things as well.
Right.
And what I learned, and I think you learned as well, is that when we're in those costumes, it's not Carrie, it's not Noel. You become Bear, or you become Barney, because that's what they didn't come for Carrie, they came for Barney.
No.
And so your emotions and all that, you have to hold them in. It's difficult to do this sometimes. So.
Oh yeah.
That's
My
incredible.
wife always liked the fact that I had this sort of like Clark Kent, Superman identity, because Bear could go on, do this stuff, people like cheering and screaming and all that, and then afterwards get out and like walk through the same crowd of people and no one has no idea whatsoever who I was, what I did, and she loved that.
Right. Yeah, that's what makes it so special. You realize that that you're doing something so much bigger than a job. I was 23 when I started Barney, and I had to grow up very quickly because I realized this was a responsibility. It wasn't just a paycheck. It wasn't a job. This was an amazing blessing.
It's not even like a joke or anything. It's like it's serious. I mean, you also be you have to be professional.
Yes.
You show up on time.
Right.
You do the job. You do what's given to you. That's why I started after college. My teacher for puppetry at Pratt was named Kermit Love, and he designed and built Big Bird and Snuffy. And none of the frogs are named after him. It's just those weird coincidences. But he offered me a job to be his assistant on Sesame Street. So I wrangle, take care of Big Bird. So I went right out into Sesame Street and TV production. And so before I was a puppeteer for the show, I was the wrangler, and I learned so much going to the production meetings and just sitting there and listening, and then just watching like how a TV show is put together, and just like how professional these people are.
Yes.
Because you put it's Sesame Street, but it's you still have responsibility. And
yes.
It was a really good learning curve.
Which I didn't know. You're a wrangler on Sesame Street back then, and now you're a puppeteer for Bear and all these things. But anyway, continue on.
For this 23-year-old guy,
right?
And and getting to work on the first movie. So it was like it was great. And then I've I've done auditions and training for the international versions of Sesame Street, and I've done writing workshops for writers for the international versions.
Wow.
And then just having what I learned and then teaching it to them was great. Like I tell performers that, sometimes, first of all, you're an actor.
Right.
You know, Jim always believed, puppeteers are actors. We just act from the wrist up.
Yes.
So we're actors.
Yes.
And so you're acting. That camera, it's not a camera. That's a kid at home who has never seen you or this show ever.
Right.
And so you connect with that one kid who has never seen it, and that's what keeps it fresh.
Yes.
I remember as Bear, every time I opened the door, I would open a door to that one kid who has never seen this character before.
Right.
Just to keep it fresh. And then I would tell them, like every now and then, you'll get a script that just blows. And it's just nothing.
Right.
And so you have to find the fun in it. You have to figure out, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to have fun? Because if you're not going to have fun, it's going to translate to this character not having fun.
Sure.
Wow.
So you have to figure out how to have fun with this. And you could add a joke as long as it's within the context of what you're trying to teach or do. Sure. You just can't pull it out of thin air. So it was really good. So.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I went through it with, Mr. Knickerbocker and the I Love You song. I probably performed them 10,000 times. And you find ways to do a little hop different or a little tail wag or something to make that special, that you're not going through the motions. Every time you're performing that song, it's special because those kids it might be the first time seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, do you remember the first time you ever did an appearance, like outside the studio?
Yeah.
As Barney?
Yeah, I do.
Like in that first time of just like, and just realizing like, oh dear God.
Right.
it's like, first of all, they're actually watching the show. Right. Second of all, it's like they're really enjoying this character to the point of like being like those women that you see that footage of the Beatles getting off the plane, and the women are like, and they're just like losing it,
right?
Because they're right there.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's just suddenly realizing, like, wow.
Right. Well, and you probably realize too the difference between performing for the TV show and then performing live, especially doing meet and greets or doing hospital visits, because some kids see a big 7-foot dinosaur and they run right to Barney, and some kids need to warm up a little bit. So when you're big, or when you play this big character, you played a little smaller, I really learned how to kind of read children and read their emotions, so that I didn't scare some, but some were ready to to dance with you right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like one of those things where, and then I find out later on, like a lot of times if a kid was crying, it's because they were just so excited. They were like that footage of those women crying when they saw the Beatles, because it wasn't because they were afraid or sad. It's because it was just so much emotion that it just came out in tears.
Right.
And so then later on, the kids just like, smiling. It's like, I'm a bear. Just like smiling. It's like, really?
I was smiling when I met Bear. I thought it was awesome.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like, and I remember, like there was one meet and greet we did at FAO Sports, and it was to promote the new line of merchandise. Yeah. And I'd done like my meet and greet. I was about to leave, and I heard like this kerfuffle. I love that word, kerfuffle. Right. Just like behind me, and there's this guy talking to the people, and he was like really angry for some reason. And so I had Bear turn around and come back, and it's like, hey, is everything okay? And it turns out the guy, pretty much, he lived like somewhere in Pennsylvania, and like drove like almost 2 hours, so that his kid could meet Bear. Right. And so he was really just like, and it was like so close, and it was like so angry that Bear was leaving, and I'm like, and Bear's like, just put his hand on his shoulder. It's okay, I'm here now. It's like, what can I do for you? It's like talking to the kid, and we just like had this picture. We talked for a minute, gave a hug, and like man shook Bear's hands, like, thank you, sir, thank you.
Isn't it amazing what a simple gesture of,
Yeah.
of a hug or a hand touch or
Oh yeah.
how far it takes you?
I knew then, and I know now, being one, it's like the most dangerous animal on Earth is an irrational parent.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was able to calm this guy down, I was like, it's fine, I'm here. What do you want?
Right.
It's okay, it's all good. It's a doggy bear. Hey. And so yeah, it was like, and I remember I did this appearance at the World of Disney. It was on Fifth Avenue, and there was this couple that came, this young couple, and
Wow.
the girl, she must have been like, I don't know, like in her 20s, but she loved Bear, and she wanted to meet Bear.
Right.
And she was literally one of those women from the Beatles, where she just came up to Bear, and she was just like weeping, just like,
wow,
waiting to meet Bear, and just wanted to have a picture with Bear. And the boyfriend, God bless him, you could just see in his face how patient he was, just like he could not believe his girlfriend really wanted to do this. I was like, sure. It was like, had her, gave a hug, and she was just like, pretty much the woman was almost inconsolable when I did that. So it was like really funny how like Bear just like transcended ages. Like there was something about him.
Well, the character, I think it's that authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's it becomes their friend. It becomes someone that they can relate to.
Yeah, I always said that Bear, in terms of like, guys, he's a great catch,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
He can clean, he can dance, he's great with kids. Okay, he has a little hair on his back, but other than that, he's a great catch.
So, what have been some of your other favorite characters? We were talking about so much Bear, but I want to get in a couple other here real quick. I know I love Bear so much. I can talk about Bear all day. You did some work on the Good Night Show. Is that correct?
I did.
I was on with on a couple of those Sprout shows as well. Barney was on a couple of those shows.
Right.
So I saw that you worked with. Did you work with Nina and on the Good Night Show?
I worked with Melanie.
Okay.
First, and actually, she was the first host.
Okay.
And I actually was the director for all those segments. So I got to
know that.
all those segments of the Night Show. Then they were switching over between Melanie and Nina.
Okay.
And so there was like this interim month where they asked, "No, would you be the host?"
Oh wow.
And I was like, okay. And so I became the host. So I became Leo, the gardener.
Okay.
And it was like for a month, sort of to transition into Nina. So this way they didn't have like a void. So that was interesting, playing a human character.
Wow, that was awesome. So there you go. Continue on, because you see, before we continue on, you see, Melody's sexual thing got her fired from the Sprout Good Night Show thing. So there you go. Continue on.
And every now and then I would kind of glance over at the monitor, and the director was like, "No, you're looking at the monitor," which was always second nature to me, because that's how you puppeteer, TV puppetry. You look at the monitor. Right. So I would just glance over to see how I was looking. He's like, "No, you're looking at the monitor."
Right.
So I have to. So then I actually printed out a picture of my son, who was like a baby at the time, and I taped it to each camera. So this way I would look at his picture whenever, to keep myself from looking at the monitor. So I would look at the picture of him to talk to him. So that was fun. That was great. And
wow.
And then they went to Nina, but that was after. So I never actually got to meet Nina. I got to work with Star on the pillow.
Yes. I worked with Star too.
Yes, it was great. And then they rebuilt Star, and the puppeteer, who was awesome. So yeah, that was So I did that. I've done. It's like the '90s was great for puppetry. So I did. If you got to watch way too much television,
right?
I did. Like I said, I mentioned Eureka's Castle. So I was Magellan, the dragon, and I was Webster the spider. Then after that, I did a show called The Puzzle Place.
Okay.
Wow.
Now The Puzzle Place was interesting because it's PBS, and unlike Nickelodeon or Disney, who have set times for their shows,
right?
With your local PBS station and viewers like you,
right?
It depends upon when they want to fill their schedule. So some people remember Puzzle Place because they were able to watch it in the morning before school or in the afternoon after school. And there are some people who don't because it was put on right in the middle of the day when they were in school.
Right.
So they have no idea who this character is. So I've done Comic-Con appearances. And then
Wow.
some people have no idea who Leon is. And then I'm always surprised by the people who actually do remember who he was because of the region that they're living in. And yeah, it was great. And then I did Ubi, which was
yeah, I was there because I was be doing this. Yeah, that joke as well because I was a puppeteer for those Ubi and Keiko characters. But anyway, continue on.
Nickelodeon show where it was our bare hands and these glass eyes on top. It's like that's it. They paid us to do this, and then after that, I did Bear. But every now and then, I'm also the resident puppeteer of HBO's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. So I get to do very un-kid show characters.
Right. And what's that been like for you to do something un-kid-like?
Oh, it's been great. It's been awesome. You can curse because it's cable. It's HBO.
Wow.
You can just, they'll say like, okay, so I get to say this word. So it's like, great. Dressed up as a squirrel. Right. Or
wow.
And people ask like, what's John Oliver like? It's like he's the nicest guy. He is sincerely like one of the nicest guys. And I always describe this show as 60 Minutes meets Monty Python. Because it's a very informative show. You will learn a lot. But then he'll still stick in like the joke to make it more palpable.
Sure.
And yeah. And so
and that's where the squirrel comes in.
That's where the squirrel comes in and like curses at a coal baron, or there's like NBC Peacock will come in and then starts weeping over the sexual allegations of TV anchors, or I've been a polar bear with a colonoscopy. I've been a Jeff the diseased lung in a cowboy hat. It's just like I've been several wax presidents.
Oh wow! So they're challenging you.
Yes, exactly. What now can we do? What can we do now? And it was actually really flattering when John was interviewed last year, and he talked about like the costume characters, and like we bring in. And then we bring in Noel, and he actually mentioned my name.
Oh, that's cool.
To do stuff. And sometimes, if it's more, we'll bring in other people. But he said, but pretty much, when it comes to Mr. Nutterbutter, it's Noel.
That's awesome.
Sounds very flattering.
I want to talk real quick about your new show, the show that means a lot to you, the project you're working on now.
It's like going back to like all the fan letters I got. I've gotten fan letters from people who thank me for Bear, and parents who thank me for Bear, but also parents of kids with autism and special needs who thank me for Bear, and whose kids now in their 20s who will still watch the DVDs or the videotapes of Bear because it's such a go-to comfort for them. And I realized there is no show like that now.
Wow.
That sincere, that gentle, that not in your face, like Bear or Barney or Mr. Rogers.
Right.
And so that's why, and I know for a fact that the networks aren't going to do it anytime soon. Yeah. So that's why I've been trying to develop my own show called The Show Me Show, which is on, I have a YouTube channel, the Show Me Show YouTube channel. And we have a Patreon page, and we have a shop at Zazzle, so you can buy merchandise. Awesome. But basically, it's I'm doing these little videos to make it more aware. And just like these fun little videos, but based on challenges that come a little bit harder for kids with autism and special needs, like change of plans and patience and boundaries, and just simple things like just say hi. And it's stuff that all kids should know, but it's just a little harder for kids with autism and special needs. So, and I've been pitching it, shopping it around. So
I got them across for you.
Thank you. So so go subscribe, tell your friends.
Yes, and we will put the links
on YouTube.
Yeah, we will put the links on our social media, on our website, and also on this video here.
Thank you.
Send people away, because I love what you're doing. I understand very much, Barney. We were affected. I was affected a lot by kids with special needs and autism, and even this show, Purple Roads, I get a lot of messages thanking me and Barney for what we did with special needs and autism, and so I think it's wonderful what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like I've been meeting so many people at Comic-Cons who grew up with Bear and who have admitted, like, they're on the spectrum, they have autism, they have certain special needs. A couple of people actually said they were, in 2 separate cons, they said that they were recently diagnosed as being on the spectrum. And to them, it was such a relief because they kept wondering or being told, like, what's wrong with you? And then finally, they got tested and realized there's nothing wrong with me. This is who I am, and it's okay. And they would actually, really, because things have advanced so much in terms of understanding autism and special needs since, in the past 5 years, let alone 10 years. And so just helping
Excuse me. Excuse me. Continue.
Parents and kids just have a little more fun.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
That's awesome. So
this was fun. Thanks for fun.
So as we finish up today, what was the experience like for Bear? What was looking back at it now and having this new perspective all these years later? What are you thinking these days about that wonderful show?
Oh, it's like, well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do with like the Show Me Show, and just pretty much what Jim believed, like, just leave the world a little bit better because you were here. Yeah. And just the fact that with these characters that we do, we touch so many lives that some of whom we'll never ever meet, but what we've done will like help them. And it was such a positive thing for them, like for that moment called childhood. Like that was one of the bright spots. And there's so many people who will never know how much we like touch their lives, but it's truly wonderful and humbling to think that running around in a purple dinosaur or jamming your nose in the camera as a giant bear actually touched these people in such a good way. That was actually the last episode of Bear. That was my suggestion was, what if everybody thought Bear was leaving? And so they wrote a script about that. And it turns out Bear wasn't leaving. He had won a contest and gets to take his friends to this resort. And the theme was appreciation. They appreciated Bear. So then Bear goes on the balcony of this resort room. And of course, who's in the sky but Luna? And they're both surprised to see each other. Right. And they talk about how Bear talks about how he was made to feel so appreciated by everybody. And then Luna says, like, wouldn't it be nice if every day we could somehow, we touch each other's life every day. Wouldn't it be nice if somehow when we did have encounters, it was always a positive thing? And so that's like pretty much the takeaway of all this. It's like just be a little bit like, nicer each day. Like today, think of one nice thing you possibly could do. And you don't need to be thanked for it. Just do it. Because that's what we did, with our shows. Like we did the show, and we weren't expecting thanks for it. We just did it.
Right.
Because it was fun and it was good.
But we did get thanks in the way that the kids reacted. See, that's the thing that's so amazing
but we
about
weren't expecting. That was the thing. It was like we just did it. And it wasn't until later on, like the thank yous, that's when you realize, okay, you are watching the show. Thank you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So that was the big takeaway from Bears. It's like, especially these days, like more than ever, just be a little kinder and a little nicer because you never know how it's going to touch somebody.
Wow.
I can't thank you enough for being here. It's been so good to see you again. The memories are just flowing back. And I hearing these stories are so amazing because I experienced several of those. And I love hearing a different perspective and hearing how much Bear meant to you because it meant so much to so many of us.
Yeah, it still does. So it's like, even after all these years, the fact that he's still part of people's childhood.
Right.
It's great. So I don't take that lightly. So thank you for, allowing Bear to be part of your lives, because he loved being a part of it.
And real quick, as I keep saying I'm going to end, but I just can't get enough. What are you working? What are you working on this spring?
Special coming up.
I know we're going longer. What is it? What are you working on this spring?
Oh, the spring is so the thing is, because you're based in Texas.
Yes.
Normally, I and my colleague Peter Lintz, we do a masterclass in TV puppetry.
Right.
Called Beyond the Sock. We did not make up the title. and it's done in Denton, Texas, at the University of North Texas. And registration will be starting soon. And normally, Peter and I are the two instructors to show you how we do what we do for Bear and the Muppets and Sesame Street. And then you get to make your own professional, puppet.
Right.
That you use.
Wow.
That's part of the deal. That you get to keep. Peter and I will not be there this year, because we are both going to be working on the new Sesame Street movie that will be starting soon. And so we won't be there. However, the two instructors who will be there are very good friends of ours. One is Victor Yared, fresh from the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, who played Hup, as well as master improviser for the show Puppet Up, which is live. They do tours. And the other is Tim Lagasse. And Tim Lagasse is a puppeteer director from Crash and Bernstein, from Ubi, he was Ubi, and from Between the Lions. He was the classic character Artis Martivats.
Wow, awesome.
And so they will be filling in for us. So that's coming up for us for this spring. So if you want to learn how I do what I do, go to beyondthesock.com, and registration will be opening soon, and you can see that.
Well, and we'll put a link to that as well to send people that are interested in that, because we're here in Texas, and so
I love
let
Texas.
people
Texas
know about how to get to Denton.
Yeah, Denton's great. Denton's an awesome little town. It's great. So you want something, and it's usually the first week of June. So it's just that's it. It's really,
looking for the Sesame Street movie, looking for everything, and parts of it I won't be in Texas that year, because I understand that Neil and Pat and Pierre will be on the new Sesame Street movie. But I'll be busy throughout the time being traveling. That's just me. We'll just see what happens. Continue on.
quick and easy.
Awesome.
So, but it's like a great way to start your summer.
Absolutely.
Summer camp.
Well, Noel, it's so great to see you. I'd love to have you back, because I could sit here and talk to you for a long time. If you come back sometime, it'd be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your purple road. Thanks again, Noel, and I love you, and I'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Rose with Carrie Simpson, episode 11. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far, this episode with Bear in the Big Blue House, Neil MacNeal, is going to be a successful one. Anyways, that was episode for LJ Reacts, episode number 418. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is going to be a 419th episode of LJPCBM Reacts. But until next time, through Joseph, goodbye, peace out, baby. We get more to reacts, we guys very soon. Now you might excuse me, I gotta watch Lucas the Cool Guy's Twitch stream. Till then, the Jefferson out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, Why was I the one to see things as I do?